Hey there LEGO fans! For today's build, I've selected this pickup truck, kit number 10290 at 1,677 pieces. But I find this name to be lacking a little bit, because when I look at this thing, it looks like it comes from the 50s. I mean, the Spanish name on the sign here is Camioneta Clásica. Clearly, LEGO knows it. And this is also a farmer's vehicle, for reasons that we'll cover in the review. But first, of course, let's get this thing unboxed, have a look at all the bags, so we have to work with, and get this build underway so we can start having a look at this classic 1950s farmer's pickup truck. So here we have one classic, dark red, farm life hardened, vintage pickup truck. From back in the day when a truck was made for work. No cool features, no fancy electronics, just a roomy cab, a simple engine, and a flatbed big enough for the farmer to haul around whatever produce he has to carry. And what produce do you choose to put in the back? Well, that's kind of up to you because his kit comes with accessories to match the 4 seasons. But before we get into any of that, first let's start with a closer look at the truck itself. Starting in the front, we first have my favorite aesthetic piece, the front grille, which is large, wide, and I feel makes a commanding statement all on its own. Right in the center, there's a little V8 symbol, because this is a farm truck and it's got to have some power. It's flanked on either side by some headlights and turning signals, and up top, the large hood flips up to expose that massive V8 engine, which looks pretty great in and of itself. Nicely detailed with its various components, radiator, timing belt, air filter, and it all looks great under the hood. Coming around to the side, we see that the front wheel well protrudes out in a very square boxy shape that also has very pleasantly rounded corners and edges, as it was the style back in the day when manufacturing was much different. The passenger door has a side view mirror, little door latch, Green Farms logo right in the center, and as we'd expect, the door of course opens up, exposing what looks to me like a new way of doing the door hinge mechanisms. This one's attached with many solid linkages and one rubber piece, allowing the door to have a little bit of give, making for a door that fits very tightly in its frame, but doesn't catch as you open and close it. Like in the front, the rear wheel well is a very square protrusion with very pleasantly rounded corners and edges, and just above that, on the other side of the flatbed, we have the raised wooden rails, which will be very useful to have when the flatbed is full. But as there's not much in here, let's just pull them off, making for a sleeker look. Around back, there's a pair of brake/turning lights, a little muffler just beneath the bumper, and the tailgate is written Lego right across the center. And what I'm very pleased to say is a printed piece and not a sticker. And of course, the tailgate does open. And then on the driver's side, it's mostly the same as what we have on the passenger side. 2 sets of square wheel wells, the driver's door with mirror, little handle on it, green farm logo, and on this side, just behind the door, is a very prominently displayed gas cap. Opening the driver's side door and getting a better look at the interior, starting right on top, hanging from the ceiling, we have the rear view mirror, which has a nice sunset view behind them. Ahead of the steering wheel, we've got a dash with 3 gauges, and just a little lower of that, we have the odometer. We can see this is a pretty low mileage truck, not having reached 1,000 kilometers or miles, whatever it is, just yet. And of course, the steering wheel works. Steering left or right makes the wheels turn left or right. And finally, popping open the roof gives us a better look at the interior, where we can see that very wide bench, very common for vehicles of the day, that this stretches from one side to the other. And you may notice that the passenger side of the bench has one available stud, and that can be used, if you so choose, to secure some of the accessories that you might not want to put in the flatbed. And as to these accessories, broken down by season, first for the spring, we have a little wheelbarrow, some flowers sitting on it, a watering can for keeping them fresh, and a little sandwich board showing today's pick of flowers. For the summer harvest, we've got a basket of tomatoes, a basket of carrots, parsnips, a container of milk, and on the other side of the sandwich board, we have a little sign showing today's fresh produce, which I think is slightly mislabeled because it also shows the pumpkin, which is ideally part of the fall collection, which comes with a nice crate of pumpkins. And then in the winter, there's nothing to harvest, farmer can concentrate on the holidays, so here he has a little wrapped present and a nice seasonal wreath, both of which can easily be attached to the truck. The present sits nicely on that little open stud on the passenger side of the bench, and the wreath attaches right to the front of the truck in a very festive fashion. A little note about the wreath, I found the assembly of it to be kind of tedious. It's definitely fragile, falls apart very easily as you're building it, and is a little difficult to manipulate into that perfect Christmas wreath circle, making it the only part of the build which I found to be a little bit annoying. But overall, this was a great build experience. It went together quite easily, quite quickly, and these pretty sleek lines and curves are made possible by some pretty interesting and cool building techniques, which all come together to make a pretty sleek looking display piece. It's not one of the flashier builds out there, and among my collection, I really doubt it's going to be the first one that's noticed. But an old farm truck was never meant to be flashy, and when you get a closer look at it, the details do not disappoint. I find it to be every bit as satisfying as the Porsche 911, Ford Mustang, Volkswagen Beetle, Mini Cooper. You get the picture. This is an awesome little truck, and as a display piece, it holds its own against these much more iconic models. As a play kit, this set does not score very well. I mean, you can't even access the steering wheel without pulling off the roof, and I think that really says it all about it not being a play kit. As to parts they might be tempted to reuse for a future build, first thing, quite obviously, we got a lot of these nice dark red pieces. There's also a lot of these nice rounded corner pieces, something I haven't seen too much in the past, but I've been seeing in a variety of newer kits, so I have a feeling this is going to get more common as we go forward. And the single piece that I personally find to be the most desirable is all the way in the back, that dark red 2x4 tile where it's printed Lego. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that are going to find that particular tile to be highly desirable. For my concluding thought, I think this kit is best intended for someone who already has a Lego car collection on the go. Unless you're particularly drawn in by classic pickup trucks or have an affinity for the farm aesthetic, I don't find the aesthetic appeal of this kit to be hugely enticing. I'm not knocking it, it does look great, but it's just not one of my favorites. But that being said, if you do know someone who already has a bunch of Lego cars on display, or if you already have a Lego car display of your own, I think this is a fantastic addition. So, while I don't necessarily think that this kit is for everyone, I do believe that those who find it appealing will be very happy to welcome it into their collection.